The United States joined World War I in May 1917, but at that time, the U.S. Army's preparations were not sufficient. They not only lacked heavy artillery, but also severely lacked the newly emerged tanks. Fortunately, they had two allies, the United Kingdom and France. The Americans intended to cooperate with them to develop a new type of tank. The joint result of the collaboration between the United Kingdom and the United States was the M1917 Light Tank. At that time, the United Kingdom equipped very large rhomboid tanks. They used an over-the-top track design. Although there were many of these tanks, early models had many design problems. The tanks had undivided compartments inside, with the engine in the same room, poor ventilation, and this led to the engine producing odors, toxic gases, cannon smoke, and the soldiers' sweat all trapped inside. After being subjected to high temperatures, the combat environment was truly terrible. Members experiencing nosebleeds, fainting, or vomiting were completely normal occurrences. In fact, the British designers were also trying to improve the tanks. At the end of 1916, they proposed the design of the Mark VI tank. This tank used an updated power structure with an independent engine compartment, 75 cm wide tracks, and other designs that greatly improved comfort. After the United States joined the war, they became interested in the Mark VI tank. Due to certain reasons, the Mark VI tank project was terminated, and the United States decided to jointly develop a new M1917 Light Tank with the United Kingdom, which was essentially an improved version of the Mark VI tank. The M1917 Light Tank had a very rugged appearance, weighing about 38 tons, with a length of 10.41 meters, a width of 3.56 meters, including the two turrets on each side, and a height of 3.12 meters. It continued the basic rhomboid tank shape on the outside, but with significant improvements on the inside. The tank had an independent engine compartment, where a 300-horsepower V12 gasoline engine was installed, paired with a planetary gear transmission with 2 forward gears and 2 reverse gears. The rear of the vehicle was equipped with 3 fuel tanks, with a total capacity of about 900 liters of gasoline, and a dedicated mechanic was arranged to look after the engine. The tank could reach a maximum speed of about 10 kilometers per hour with a maximum range of 89 kilometers. Its large tracks and long body allowed it to cross trenches up to 488 meters wide. However, tests proved that the tank's steering ability was very poor, and the tracks often couldn't withstand twisting, leading to deformation and breakage. The entire tank required a crew of 12, including the aforementioned mechanic, as well as 11 people responsible for driving, commanding the tank, and operating the weapons. The tank retained the 2 turrets on each side of the vehicle, but they were designed to be collapsible, so they could be retracted into the vehicle to reduce the width in narrow areas. Each turret was equipped with a 6-pound gun, 57mm caliber, operated by a gunner and loader. The tank was also equipped with 5 auxiliary machine guns, with 2 mounted at the front of the vehicle, 1 on each side, and an additional one mounted on the slightly protruding fixed command tower on top. Each machine gun was operated by a gunner. The large size of the tank, combined with its weak engine, made it impossible to allocate too much weight to armored protection. The thickest part of the riveted armor plate was 16 mm, while the top and bottom armor plates were the thinnest at 6 mm. This level of protection was not considered poor during World War I, as most tanks at that time were similar. Due to the constraints of resources during the war, the United Kingdom hoped to establish a production line in the United States, while the French hoped to receive 700 M1917 Light Tanks for free from their allies. The United States wanted to establish an assembly plant in France. In the end, only 125 M1917 Light Tanks were built, with the United States constructing 100 and the United Kingdom constructing 25. The British version added 2 machine guns and 2 crew members. The planned factory in France did not produce any tanks. The United Kingdom and the United States conducted numerous tests on their respective M1917 Light Tanks, especially the United States, which formed a tank battalion with these tanks. The tanks experienced frequent malfunctions during use, leading to a strong dislike from the officers and soldiers. The tanks began to be phased out in the early 1930s, and there were plans to sell them at scrap metal prices to Canada, which ultimately declined. Currently, several M1917 Light Tanks are preserved in American museums, and the strange tank in the movie Indiana Jones was designed based on the M1917 Light Tank.